Alright, in this video I'm going to work out the first 6 problems from your Chapter 1 test review. So first the direction says use the diagram to answer the following questions. And we're looking at the diagram to the right. We're going to look at this diagram over here. And the first question says give 2 other names for line AB. Well, remember, I know this is a line because it has arrows on the end, so therefore we're talking about a line. And remember that you can name a line using 2 letters and that those letters can be reversed, and it is technically a different name, although it's still using the same letters. So line AB, one other name for that would be line BA. So now let's actually find line AB or line BA over here. So here's point B and here's point A, and this is the line that runs between them. Well, if you notice, point A and point B are the only points on the line. Now, do not get confused because if you see here, there is the letter F. However, there is not a dot associated with it like there was with A and B. And also, F is italicized, so that means that it is a name for that line. So another name for this line AB could be simply F. Okay, now number 2, it says name all points that are collinear. Well, remember, to be collinear, co means together, linear means line, so we want points, 3 of them, that are on the same line. So let's look at the line that we just looked at. Remember, this only had 2 points, so therefore A and B cannot be collinear. Well, they are collinear, but they cannot be the answer to this question because they wanted 3 points that are collinear. So let's look at the other line in our diagram. So if I look here, it's the only other line shown. See if I have 3 points on it. Well, there's a point for C, there's the point for A, and there's the point for G. So 3 points that are collinear are C, A, and G. Now notice B is a point, but it's not on that same line, and T is a point, but it's not on that line either. Now number 3 says name a point that is not coplanar with A, C, and T. Well, this time it says co means together, planar. Remember, planar means plane. So I'm looking for a point that is not on the same plane with A, C, and T. So my first step would be to find A, C, and T. Well, here's A, here's C, and here's T. Well, then it's kind of obvious that those points are together on this plane. So now let's look for the other points in the diagram. Well, here's a point, G, but it's on that plane. Here's a point B that is not on the plane. So therefore, a point that is not coplanar with C, A, and T would be point B. Now again, although we do have the letter F out here, F is not a point, so therefore that would not be a correct answer to this question. Alright, number 4, it says, well, first of all, the directions say use a diagram to answer the following questions, and this time we're going to be using this diagram. So 4 says, what is another name for line XW? Well, remember we said that we can switch around the letters, and that's another name. Now let's look at the diagram to see if there are any other names. Although it says another, meaning technically one, let's see how many names there are. So line WX would go through W and would go through X, so therefore I must be talking about this line. Okay, make sure there wasn't a letter at the end. No, there's no letter down there. Okay, so I actually have another point on the line. I have a point Y, so I can use Y to name the line as well. So I could call this line YX, because remember it just takes 2 points, or I could reverse that and call it XY, or I could even say WY or YW. So any of those would work. Now on number 5 it says name all rays with endpoint X. Remember the endpoint of a ray, remember a ray starts at a point and then goes through another point in a direction. If you recall, what we learned in class is that this is the end point because that's where it starts and it goes in the other direction. So now let's look at the diagram. It says with the endpoint X. So I'm looking for an endpoint of X. So let's go over here to the diagram. This is my X point there. Well, if you notice, I have a ray going this way. I have a ray going this way. I have a ray going this way. And I have a ray going that way. So I have 4 rays that start at X. So the first one, or the one I highlighted in yellow, would be, well, that's not exactly very easy to read, so I'm going to write it in yellow, but I'm going to go over it in black. So ray XA. Then we have the one that I highlighted in red, so XY. Notice that all of these are starting with X because that's the endpoint. And then we have also XW. So those are all the rays that end with endpoint X. And then number 6, which is the last one we're going to do on this video, it says give another name for AB. Now this time, if you notice, there are no arrows on the end. So this is a segment, which means it doesn't keep going and going and going. It stops at A and B. So let's find A. Here's A. And here's B. So we're actually just talking about this. So it says another name for AB. Well, we know that we can switch the letters around, and that's another name. The question is, can I call this XB? Because remember back up on here, on number 4, I was able to use the letter Y and create a whole bunch of names. But down here, X is in the middle. So could I say AX is another line? Because X is a point on the segment. So what would AX be? Remember we said that this is where it starts and stops. So this would be AX. So is that the same as AB? No, it's much shorter. So I cannot include X in the name of segment AB. So the only other name that I could name segment AB is segment BA. Now, if there had been an italicized letter out here, like, let's say, capital R, I could have named this capital R, but there wasn't. So therefore, the only other name that I could name this segment AB is BA.